And so with internalized gaslighting, and that's that topic today that we're exploring with this impromptu training, I want to focus specifically on emotions because, frankly, this is where the most abuse occurs, and this is where people get control through the ability to influence us to agree with them. Because if they can get us to question our own experience, our own emotions, our own needs and wants, our own memory, our own perception, they can get us to agree with them. And then we start looking at ourselves as though we're a problem. There's something wrong with us, right? Because it's, especially with toxic people, it's always an opposition going on. And especially if you're dealing with a narcissist, their goal is to make them the authority in your life, which means you have to be torn down from your place of authority to yourself. You have to believe that they know better, they have a better perspective, that they have more wisdom, they're more insightful than you are. And then you start tuning out your value, your voice, and your vision. You stop ignoring your own worth, and you start dedicating your worth to their approval or rejection. And you also get really, really stuck in their voice. You start adopting their principles, their opinions, their points of view, their preferences, their boundaries, that kind of thing. And then your vision is lost because you're not in tune with you, and you've got to get connected back to that. Instead, when you don't have your own vision, you feel that vacuum, you fill it with their vision. So you become who you think they want you to be. And that's where, you start really showing up with codependency. You feel empty, you feel lost, you feel trapped. This is the impact of gaslighting. And then when we internalize it and start doing it to ourselves, well, is that what I really feel? Is that what I really want? Am I stupid? Am I misunderstanding this again? Or I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't want that. I shouldn't believe that. I shouldn't have that opinion. I shouldn't think those thoughts. You're gaslighting yourself. You're working actively against your well-being. You're actually arguing with your voice. And one of the things that we gaslight ourselves in the most is the validity of our pain. Okay? Pain. Like, you feel hurt because of how you were treated by someone, right? And you're like, well, I shouldn't feel hurt. I should give them the benefit of the doubt. I should be more kind and less rigid or less sensitive or less needy. Does that sound familiar? I should be more forgiving. When in reality, maybe you ought to ally with your worth and go, or ally with your pain and go, what is this trying to tell me? Oh, look, they're violating a boundary actively. Well, no wonder I'm hurt. I'm being hurt. It's a lot like setting yourself on fire or being set on fire and then going, that shouldn't hurt. I'm on fire, but that shouldn't hurt. I shouldn't feel any pain because I'm on fire. That's what gaslighting does. It gets you to deny reality through denial of your perception, your experience, your feelings, and then adopt their point of view as the truth. And this is why you feel so darn confused all the time. This is why you don't know what's reality, and that's why you default to them. And then we start doing it to ourselves again. This internalized gaslighting can be really, really tricky. And so the way out of internalized gaslighting is internalized legitimization. Okay? So in the happiness strategy, I take students through a process called legitimization. All this is the endorsement of the legitimacy or validity of your feelings. That's it. Of course you hurt. You've been hurt. Of course the fire hurts. You're on fire, It's to believe in the validity, the truth, the reality of your feelings. To go, I really do feel this way about that. That's it. It's to say, yep, I feel this way. And I look at the situation, I look at my personal context, it makes sense why I feel this way. Of course I'm scared. I've been through hell. I'm going to be scared about things in the future because my past has been scary. It makes total sense. If you have anxiety or even an anxiety disorder, you're dealing with trauma, If you start the legitimization of those feelings going, of course I'm petrified, look what I've been through, you actually start decompressing that trauma somatically, or meaning felt sense, in the body, and you start expanding it. And that starts to reduce its impact in your life, and your confidence and your peace start to skyrocket. It's a profound tool. It also gets you to trust yourself. It gets you to believe yourself. And when you can start doing that, that's where your boundaries show up. It's like, no, I don't like this. Oh, I don't have to explain why I don't like this. I don't like it. Please stop doing it. Oh, I don't want to do this thing. I want to invest my time in something else. You don't even have to justify it, because you're no longer playing the game of they're an authority that you need permission from to be, do, and have whatever it is you're being, doing, or having. Instead, you're being your authority, the rightful authority in your life, which is yourself. You are your own authority. Period. That's it. Healthy relationships are built on the concept of consent, and consent acknowledges the individual authority of the people involved. So when you start to acknowledge your own authority, like, well, that's what I feel, that's how I feel about this, you start to win. You're also responsible for the management of those feelings. Your responsibility is to understand the context of your feelings, what they're communicating to you, what need is behind those feelings, and to really connect with the wisdom that can come through your emotional feedback. Okay? Because generally, if we're like, you made me feel, then we're blaming and we're putting our power in their yard, making them responsible, and then we're at their mercy. But if we're saying, I feel this way about the way you behave, then we're back in our power. And we can accomplish big, big things there, because we can make honest choices for ourselves. We can be kind with ourselves. We can be clear with what's going on in our relationships, which will help us avoid abuse. It'll also help us detect gaslighting, because the second someone's like, you remembered that wrong. You shouldn't feel that way. You're too sensitive. Get over it. Oh, well, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have treated you that way. When that starts showing up in a relationship, that's the end of the relationship, because the person's manipulating you. They're violating your boundaries. They're compromising their integrity and damaging the trust and vulnerability you've given them. It's pretty much a zero tolerance game. Hey, Shaylee, that's my daughter. So it's very, very important to understand that when you start legitimizing yourself, you stop gaslighting, where you're going, no, my perspective, my feelings, my needs and wants, and my experience are just as real and valid as everybody else's. Then the game of abuse stops in its tracks, because there's nothing for them to do. You cannot be manipulated when you're in tune with yourself and you're holding yourself accountable to what you feel and then communicating that to others. So today, guys, give yourself a chance to trust yourself. Stop making yourself wrong. Start believing in the validity and legitimacy of what you feel. It's like, yeah, of course I feel this way. Look at what I've been through. This also brings up another point I think is really valuable for us. What we feel doesn't define who we are. Okay? So a lot of times, because of this kind of abuse, we end up feeling a lot of shame. And we think that we feel this shame because we are not a valid person. We're unworthy. We don't deserve the love and respect. But in reality, the shame is saying, hey, we are being violated. We are being harmed. Because underneath that shame is going to be hurt, pain, maybe even anger. And it's like, whoa, I'm valid. So when we start validating our emotions as what we've experienced rather than who we are, we get to grow. We get to see things for what they really, really are. Thank you, Mark. Yes, it's a very real thing. It's something I experienced most of my life. Religion does it. Society does it. Toxic partners do it. Sometimes we, as healthy people, sometimes do it because we're scared of vulnerability or of accountability. So we need to be really cognizant in ourselves about how we might delegitimize or attempt to delegitimize someone else's experience. So it's okay to have a different point of view and feel differently about the way things went down in something. That's reasonable, that's understandable, and it's also okay to say, yep, we see things differently, and that's the way it's going to be. Okay? But ultimately, keep your eye out for how you're being gaslit, especially with how you're gaslighting yourself. Start believing you. Start trusting you. Okay? Okay, guys, I appreciate you. Let me give you kind of like a process you can do that with. Because if you want the legitimization technique, you'll have to be a part of the happiness strategy. But I'll give you some steps from it. The first step in legitimization is the acknowledgement of what you feel. It's also the acknowledgement of how you think about what you feel. And what I do in that is it's like, okay, I have these thoughts. These thoughts are, here's my thoughts, and then here's how I feel. Often the thoughts are going to be what's opposing what you feel. They're going to be the ones, it'll be like the voice that's gaslighting you. So I tend to treat thoughts as thoughts and not as fact, reality, or truth, okay? So the way I'd approach it is, I'm feeling really scared about doing this live video. In my mind, the thoughts would be like, yeah, you're going to mess up. Why are you doing this? Who do you think you are? And I'd be like, those are thoughts. They're not reality. They're not truth. They're not facts. And I allow myself to start to observe them as thoughts rather than absorb them and react to them as truth. And then I come back to the anxiety. And it's like, of course I feel anxious. And growing up, I was criticized for speaking out my mind and doing the things I do, stepping out, being forward, being blunt, confronting this stuff. Whoo, yeah, even that right now actually does bring up some anxiety. The confrontations, putting people like, hey, stop doing that. That hurts me. So yeah, now it makes sense for me to feel this anxiousness. Look at what I've endured. That's legitimization. The more we do that, the more somatically allied we become. We become our own emotional ally, and that allows us to grow, because it decompresses that energy that is in the emotional experience for us, and it gives us more trust and alignment with ourselves. So we're more integrous to ourselves, more congruent. So there you go, guys. Give that a shot. If you want help with this, definitely reach out. Be glad to help you with it. I appreciate you. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping, and be you today with courage and with love. Okay? And I'll see you guys in our next training. Have a beautiful and wonderful Wednesday. Okay? Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.